So what do you got? Alright, we're kind of into the meat and bones and nitty gritty of this thing. The outcome is not accidental. His product creation methods, and those of the new rich, can be emulated. That's where we left off yesterday. Here's how you can do it in the fewest number of steps. Step 1. Pick an affordably reachable niche market. All right, so we talked about niche the other day with the girl with the golf shirts. Unfortunately, she didn't do enough research to see if golfers really wanted to pay $15 for a t-shirt. When I first read it, the first thing I said was, she's in a niche that's good for pay-per-click, right? She picked golfers and humor, that's a niche, but she didn't say, will golfers with humor want t-shirts? And the answer was no. Her sales quickly dwindled, and then she made the mistakes going retail, and he broke all that down yesterday. But a niche market is huge. You want to get a little narrow specialty where you can be king of that specialty, and Walmart's not doing it, and Amazon's not doing it, and etc., etc. The big guys aren't playing in your pool. You want a little small pool that only you're playing in. You can be king. And affordably reachable. Yeah, that's the pay-per-click. I think I'll talk about pay-per-click here, we'll see. When I was younger, I didn't want to be pigeonholed. Basically, now you want to be pigeonholed. It's your niche. Joan Chen, actress, appeared in The Last Emperor and Twin Peaks. Right, so why would they hire Joan Chen for The Last Emperor? Because she's Chinese, right? So it's a niche. It's her, like, she's the best actress for that role. And where she was young, she's like, oh, I want to do all kinds of roles. When later on, she's like, no, I want to do roles based on my heritage and, my knowledge and things like that. Makes sense. Creating demand is hard. Filling demand is much easier. Don't create a product, then seek someone to sell it to. Find a market, define your customers, then find or develop a product for them. Finding is better than developing at this stage, because we're talking about your first venture. So get one that's already made and just be a middleman. I have been a student and an athlete, so I develop products for those markets, focusing on the male demographic whenever possible, because he's a male and a former student and former athlete. The audiobook I created for college guidance counselors failed because I'd never been a guidance counselor. I developed the subsequent speed reading seminar after realizing I had free access to students, and the business succeeded because, being a student myself, I understood their needs and spending habits. Be a member of your target market. Don't speculate what others need or will be willing to buy. If you're willing to buy it, so are other people like you. How many people are like you? Golfers, Corvette enthusiasts, muscle car lovers, music lovers, guitar players, whatever niche that you're in, work that niche. Start small, think big. Some people are just into lavish dwarf entertainment. Danny Black, 4'2", part owner of shortdwarf.com. Okay. Danny Black rents dwarfs as entertainment for $149 per hour. Small man, not a small price. How is that for a niche market? It is said that if everyone is your customer, then no one is your customer. If you start off aiming to sell a product to dog or cat lovers, stop. It's expensive to advertise to such a broad market, and you are competing with too many products and too much free information. If you focus on how to train German Shepherds, or a restoration product for antique Fords, on the other hand, the market and competition shrink, making it less expensive to reach your customers and easier to charge premium pricing. Brain Quicken was initially designed for students, but the market proved too scattered and too difficult to reach. Based on positive feedback from student athletes, I relaunched the product as Body Quick and tested advertising in magazines specific to martial artists and powerlifters. These are minuscule markets compared to the massive student market, but not small. Low media cost and lack of competition enabled me to dominate with the first neural accelerator in these niches. It is more profitable to be a big fish in a small pond. There we go, talking about the pool. He's talking about a pond, yeah. You want to be the big fish in the small pond rather than a small, undefined fish in a big pond. How do you know if it's big enough to meet your TMI? For a detailed real-life example of how I determine the market size of a recent product, see Muse Math on this book's companion site. So if you go to 4hourblog.com, like I said, as far as I know, still up there, he has a Muse Math section, and he'll show you how to do that calculation to see how to see if a business will create your desired total monthly income. Ask yourself the following questions to find profitable niches. Which social, industry, and professional groups do you belong to? Have you belonged to, or do you understand? Whether dentists, engineers, rock climbers, recreational cyclists, car restoration aficionados, dancers, or other. Look creatively at your resume, work experience, physical habits, and hobbies, and compile a list of all the groups, past and present, that you can associate yourself with. Look at products and books you own, including online and offline subscriptions, and ask yourself what groups of people purchase the same. Which magazines, websites, and newsletters do you read on a regular basis? Number 2, which of the groups you identified have their own magazines? Visit a large bookstore, such as Barnes & Noble, and browse the magazine rack for smaller specialty magazines to brainstorm additional niches. There are literally thousands of occupation and interest hobby-specific magazines to choose from. Use Writer's Market to identify magazine options outside the bookstore. Narrow the groups from questions 1 above to those that are reachable through 1 or 2 small magazines. It's not important that these groups all have a lot of money, e.g. golfers, only that they spend money, amateur athletes, bass fishermen, etc., on products of some type. Call these magazines, speak to the advertising directors, tell them that you're considering advertising. Ask them to email their current advertising rate card and include both readership numbers and magazine back issue samples. Search the back issues for repeat advertisers who sell direct to consumer via 800 numbers or websites. The more repeat advertisers and the more frequent their ads, the more profitable a magazine is for them and will be for us. So, like you said, walk in other people's footsteps. That's a good idea. The less ground you break, the less you try to reinvent the wheel, the more successful you'll be. So he's giving you a lot of good tips for following other people's footsteps who are successful. Important. You can follow people who aren't successful. It's not going to get you anywhere. Follow people where it's working. Follow people who are doing what you want to do. Step 2, brainstorm. Do not invest in products. Genius is only a superior power of seeing. John Ruskin, famed art and social critic. Pick the 2 markets that you are most familiar with that have their own magazine with full-page advertising that costs less than $5,000. There should be no fewer than 15,000 readers. This is the fun part. Now we get to brainstorm or find products with these 2 markets in mind. The goal is to come up with well-formed product ideas and spend nothing. In step 3, we will create advertising for them and test responses from real customers before investing in manufacturing. There are several criteria that ensure the end product will fit into an automated architecture. The main benefit should be encapsulated in 1 sentence. People can dislike you, and you often sell more by offending some, but they should never misunderstand you. The main benefit of your product should be explainable in 1 sentence or phrase. How is it different, and why should I buy it? 1 sentence or phrase, folks. Apple did an excellent job of this with the iPod. Instead of using the usual industry jargon with gigabytes, bandwidth, and so forth, they simply said 1,000 songs in your pocket. That's something everybody can understand, and a lot of people wanted. A lot of people bought the iPod. I had one. I think everybody had one. Done deal. Keep it simple. Do not move ahead with a product until you can do this without confusing people. Also, it should cost the customer $50 to $200. There you go. He's giving us a price point. See, I knew my cable was too cheap at $5, but I'm glad he gave me a number. This is what I want to do. I want $150 to $200 product that businesses would buy. That's going to be my criteria. I want the top end of that range, so I don't need to sell as many to make good money. That's my personal goal. But you can go as low as $50. He's giving you a floor there of $50 for your item, retail price. The bulk of companies set prices in the mid-range, and that is where the most competition is. Pricing low is short-sighted because someone else is always willing to sacrifice more profit margin and drive you both bankrupt. Besides perceived value, there are three main benefits to creating a premium, high-end image and charging more than the competition. Higher pricing means that we can sell fewer units, there you go, and thus manage fewer customers, and fulfill our dreamlines. It's faster. Higher pricing attracts lower maintenance customers, better credit, fewer complaints, questions, fewer returns, etc. It's less headache. This is huge. I can tell you from experience and from talking to people also who have rentals, the lower end customers, the customers who pay you $700-800 a month to stay in your crappy, shitty house in the ghetto, are a huge problem. They have a sense of entitlement. They want everything. They expect everything from you. They want you to pay for everything. When you have renters in the $1,400, $1,600, $2,000 a month range, they don't ask for anything. If something small breaks, they fix it. They do. It's night and day. I'll tell you from personal experience, it's night and day. People who booked my Airbnbs on HomeAway, VRBO and HomeAway, they tend to book further in advance. They paid more money. They stayed longer. Were way, way easier to deal with than the people who booked on Airbnb, last minute, cheaper, wanting bargains, asking for stuff for free. I found a bug. Can I stay for free? What? And there's no bug either, by the way. It's not Roach fucking Motel. It was a beautiful house in the suburban neighborhood in Jacksonville. They just wanted to stay for free. That's the Airbnb mindset. HomeAway, what he's talking about, the higher end customers. The more they pay, the easier they are to deal with. Amen, brother. Higher pricing also creates higher profit margins. It's safer. I personally aim for an 8 to 10 time markup, which means a $100 product can't cost me more than $10 to $12.50. If I had to use the commonly recommended 5-time markup with Brain Quicken, it would have gone bankrupt within 6 months due to a dishonest supplier and a late magazine. The profit margin saved it, and within 12 months it was generating up to $80,000 per month. Nice. Good product, dude. Congratulations. High has its limits, however. If the per unit price is above a certain point, prospects need to speak to someone on the phone before they're comfortable enough to make the purchase. This is contraindicated on our low information diet, right? You don't want to have to answer the phone and baby people through a purchase. And if it's high enough price point, they won't pull the trigger without, like he said, talking to somebody, doing more and getting more data than you're willing to provide to make a sale. I have found that a price range of $50 to $200 per sale provides the most profit for the least customer service hassle. Price high and then justify. It should take no more than 3 to 4 weeks to manufacture. This is critically important for keeping costs low and adapting to sales demand without stockpiling products in advance. So there's something called just-in-time. I don't know if I'll talk about it, but JIT, just-in-time. You get the product just in time to sell it. And remember, we're trying to drop ship here, so we're really doing just-in-time. 4 weeks manufacturer recommend aiming 1 to 2 weeks from order placement to shippable product. I will not purchase any product that takes more than 3 to 4 weeks. I recommend 1 to 2 weeks. How do you know how long something takes to manufacture? Contact contract manufacturers who specialize in the type of product you're considering. www.thomasnet, Thomas the person's name, net.com. Call a related manufacturer, e.g. toilet bowls, if you need a referral to a related manufacturer you cannot find, e.g. toilet cleaning solutions. Still no luck? Google different synonyms for your product in combination with organization and association to contact the appropriate industry organizations. Ask them for referrals to contract manufacturers and for the names of the trade magazines, which often contain advertisements for contract manufacturers and related service providers will need for your virtual architecture later. Request pricing from the contract manufacturers to ensure the proper markup is possible. Determine the per unit cost of production for 100, 500, 1,000, and 5,000 units. We're at 15 minutes already, guys. I don't want to do a 20-minute one, so we'll stop there. There's another point kind of in that same vein, but I'll do it tomorrow. And then he talks about option 1, resell a product, which is what I recommend, especially for your first one. I would not get into manufacturing. I'm glad I read all that. You'll need that in the future. You will want to have a product made for you, probably in China at some point. I think that's the next step. In real estate investing, it's best to wholesale. Go out and find a deal, tie it up under a contract, and sell the contract to a landlord or a flipper, right? That's the best way to learn the business, get your feet wet, make some money. Then you're going to become a flipper, and then eventually become a landlord, buy and hold, right? Wealth. Here, with this, being an entrepreneur, I think the baby steps, crawl before you walk, walk before you run, I think would be to resell a product. So I read that tomorrow. That's the next chapter is option 1, reselling a product. We'll get into that, but you need to know everything he just said about your target price and the target price. I think the $50 to $200 we're also going to use on the resale market on our resale product. So I'm going to hold off on my cables because like I said, I think they're going to sell for $5. And I might just do a different product instead of the cables and find something that I could sell for $150 to $200 because that's really what I want to do. So I might not waste my time and money building a website to sell magnetic cables for the phone. That's it for today, guys. Went food shopping, dropped my girl off at work. She stayed over last night. Doing laundry, just another day in paradise. People ask me all the time how I'm doing here. I love it. I will do a video on this channel at some point of stuff that's not that I don't like about Thailand, but stuff that somebody coming here might not expect or might not think would be an issue, like buying certain items in the store and things like that. On the balance, I love it here. I'm very, very happy here. I'm never moving back to the States, for sure. But yeah, I was just thinking today, I was going around to stores looking for refried beans. Just something as simple as a can of refried beans, where you could buy at your local, for me, Publix in Jacksonville. And I had to go to 3 stores before I could find it. It's things like that are a little weird, but I mean, so what? It's still beautiful here. It's very inexpensive to live here. Very happy with my girlfriend, obviously. Now that's a big plus for single guys. So I'll do another video on that, on things you might not expect in Thailand. Not today, but down the road. Have a good one.